Good morning, good afternoon, and konbanwa, wherever you are in the world. This is Rita Kamishiro, and you are now listening to the comfiest corner of the internet, RKNGL Radio, where you can kick back, relax, and enjoy the company of me and all of the amazing archangels we have here today. Good morning, hello! Welcome. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I hope you all are doing amazing yourselves. And if not, that's okay. I hope things get better for you. Whatever the case, thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Archangel Radio. Now, normally on Archangel Radio, I like to bring in a guest to talk about their passions, their interests, impart their wisdom, and share their experiences. But today we have a special solo episode. Woohoo! It's just you and me in the studio. This is Rita's Advice Corner. Woohoo! Wow! Cue studio audience cheer. Woo! Oh my goodness. But for those maybe who are curious as to what Rita's Advice Corner may entail, I'll go ahead and do a quick little description of what we are doing today. So as Shiny had mentioned in the pin message, there was a submission window, but it is now closed. So, we had anonymous submissions, and I'll be answering those today. Please be respectful to any of the anonymous individuals who submitted their concerns today. Let's try not to overwhelm folks. Kind words and short advices are welcome in chat. Please do be mindful that I may not choose to read a question on stream if I feel like I can't speak on a topic, or if I find that a question is particularly triggering for a large audience, or if I just happen to run out of time on stream. And please also keep in mind that this is not by any means professional counsel. Just some friendly advice. I may not be able to go into as much detail as I would hope, but I hope that it is helpful in some way. Whether it's the person who wrote it or somebody else might find it, helpful. Who knows? And if you do find that you are yourself in a crisis, first of all, I'm just really glad that you all trust me with your concerns and your questions and your problems. And I apologize for any difficulties that you might be going through, but please do know that you're not alone, and there are avenues that are probably, more equipped to assist you and are more beneficial for you than maybe this specific outlet. So, please do check the description for not just the information that I had just talked about just now, but also information if you do happen to be in a crisis. Yes, thank you, Shiny. You put it in great words. I'm not a professional by any means, but I figured, it's I find it very, what's the word? I'm very honored that you all place trust in me and find meaning in the words that I share with you all. So, regardless, I hope you all enjoy today's advice corner. I hope I can give even just an ounce of wisdom or advice for you all. But yeah, let's have an enjoyable time today. But before we jump into today's advice corner, for those maybe who have heard me talking about this on stream, or maybe you've seen my posts on Twitter, I also have a special announcement to make. And a good announcement. Just want to say that. And I hope you all don't mind. I wrote myself a little script of a couple of things I wanted to say about it, because I was nervous that I was worried that I'd get nervous and forget some things. There's probably so many other things I want to say that I didn't get the chance to write down, but something is better than nothing, isn't that right? So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is very meaningful for me, so I wrote down a couple of bullet points. So if I scuff this out, I apologize, but I will do my best. Oh my gosh, all the eyeballs in chat. I will do my best. So here we go. I I have my bullet points, and I practiced this a little bit in my head right before I pressed go live. So here we go. And there's kind of a little bit of a prologue. I'm not going to go with an announcement right away. I wanted to tell a story. Water check. Here we go. So as the internet continues to be a very prevalent part of our lives, you all know that. We live in the digital age. We need to be, I guess, mindful of its impact on us and vice versa. Social media can be a very powerful tool for as staying connected with loved ones, getting inspired, and lifting one another up. I'm sure you've used social media in that way, and the internet in general. But it can be a very powerful tool only if we have a healthy relationship with the internet. Through my platform, you all see, what I do and what I try to do. I try to encourage others to be everyday heroes, not just for the RKNGL community, but for your loved ones, for yourselves, for those around you. I always hope that by sharing my experiences, engaging in educational dialogue, nurturing a positive, open-minded community, that others will feel empowered to confront their emotions, have thoughtful conversation with their loved ones, and inspire change around you. Especially in the virtual talent space, I want to encourage others to be mindful of their experience on the internet and have a healthy connection to the media that they consume. With this in mind, oh gosh, here we go. With this in mind, I am so happy to announce that I am now officially an ambassador for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, if you aren't aware of who NAMI is, I've worked with them previously. I've done 2 charity streams with them. I I put a link in the chat so you all can check it out. You can check out the official, I guess, webpage. You can see more about what the National Alliance on Mental Illness does. But in a nutshell, NAMI provides advocacy, education, support, public awareness so that all individuals and families affected or living with mental illness can build better lives. So as an ambassador, I personally am looking forward to educating, advocating, fundraising, and just generally using my platform and my personal experiences, to expand, I guess, on this national mental health movement. Because I want you all to live, the best lives that you can live. So, I'm just here to do what I can to give back. Thank you for the congratulations. This really does mean a lot to me. I think you all can see that this is very important to me. I've fundraised for, their mission and their vision before twice now. And I hope to continue to support in that way. But I feel like a lot of what NAMI does has helped me through my own journey of, mental health. So this is really important for me. So thank you all so much for sharing this exciting moment and for being, so supportive and kind. Being an NAMI ambassador for me, I guess, is my, commitment to giving back the kindness, the patience, and grace that others have shown me in my life. I've told you all before, but countless of times it's been a kind word, helpful advice, or even just shared moments of understanding between friends, coworkers, people I run into. And it's these moments of understanding that have helped me out of my darkest times and got me to where I am today. I may not do everything perfectly or know exactly the right things to say, but I'll do my best to help lift others up, just as others have helped me in my past. And before we jump into the advice portion of today, I just want to say thank you all so much for putting in so much trust in me. And I'm really honored that my words mean a lot to you all. And I will do my best to continue to honor you all and do my best to continue lifting you all up. So thank you all so much. That was my announcement. I hope I can tell you all are very excited. as excited as I am. So thank you all so much for being here and for being so supportive. And I look forward to all of the memories we have yet to make in the future. And without further ado, let us move into today's advice corner. Yeah. Woohoo! So thank you all so much to those who submitted questions and concerns, problems. I'll do my best to, offer whatever sort of advice pops up in my head. And I hope you all find this helpful or maybe at least thoughtful, if anything. And again, if you forget, some of the things I mentioned earlier, you can check the description down below to see what that's all about. Yeah. Sorry, let me adjust my mic. I had to adjust it just now. Here we go. Alrighty. Well, this first piece of advice comes from KR. So we all have pseudonyms. And if some of the pseudonyms look like names or usernames, so I might have to change them. But this first one comes from KR. And this question says, "Hello, Rita. Lately, I've been really unmotivated to do anything. I've been procrastinating on my work and school. I still submit my assignments and stuff, but only at the day of the submission. I know this is a bad habit, and I want to change that. Any help would be great. Thank you very much." So, in a nutshell, what I'm getting from this question is you're feeling unmotivated. You find yourself procrastinating, whether it's in work, in school. You want to improve this habit where you submit assignments, I'm assuming at the day of submission, maybe even like at the very last minute. Well, first of all, I just want to say, very proud of you for submitting your assignments to begin with. I think, you should be proud of yourself for, getting that point, right? Because you could also be not submitting them. So I think you should be proud of yourself for getting them submitted and turned in to begin with. That's something to be proud of. But I can totally understand, wanting to improve and wanting to be better, maybe at time management or finding that sort of motivation. So I'm going to kind of chunk it out a little bit. I see there's kind of portions of this question or concern. So the first one is the motivation thing, feeling very unmotivated as of late to do anything. I think the first thing that pops up in my mind is think about why you're doing something. What is your motivation or what does motivate you to do things? Because if you find yourself unmotivated, then maybe your motivators aren't in the right place. What are you doing this for? Maybe it's, why do you go to school or why do you go to work? Is it because you have an expectation set on yourself from other people? Or is it because you yourself want to grow and become better or learn something or improve? I find a lot of times extrinsic motivators, like motivators that come from outside of yourself, are very short term. They can motivate you maybe in the short term, get you to do something, give you some sense of urgency, but not for a very long time. I think in the grand scheme of things, maybe in the span of a couple of months, years, or even a lifetime, finding those intrinsic motivators that come from within yourself, is the best way to feel motivated, right? Why am I going to school? I want to improve myself. I want to learn something rather than somebody expects me to do this or I need to become this for somebody else. So I don't know, finding why you're doing something and understanding what intrinsic motivators is probably, I guess, my piece of advice for that, right? Create for yourself. You're doing something for the future that you want, not for somebody else. And I find that it's easier to get yourself to do something when it's for yourself rather than for something else, for somebody else. I guess another thing that makes me feel unmotivated is when it gets overwhelming, right? If there gets to be too many things. And I'll kind of talk about this in the second half, which is on the topic of procrastination. But if I find that things are overwhelming and that makes me feel unmotivated, I'll chunk it up a little bit into smaller pieces so that, I don't feel as overwhelmed by things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is kind of, again, I don't know the full context of your situation, but oftentimes motivation can also be a signal for, something larger. If you find yourself, being unmotivated for an extended period of time, you may need to, I guess, either seek, help for maybe there may be an underlying issue that may be stealing your energy and your motivation. Or you can seek, literature and self-help material. But that's the portion of the motivation segment of that question. About procrastination, though, I mentioned earlier breaking things into chunks helps a lot. And then once you break these tasks down into chunks, I like to sort things by urgency and importance. Yeah, so if you can imagine like an x-axis and a y-axis, and you have 4 quadrants, you think of low urgency, low importance, low urgency, high importance, high urgency, low importance, high urgency, high importance. So chunk out everything that you need to do, write everything down, and sort everything out into those quadrants. And then you can go from there, right? Decide what you need to do first, what needs to get done first. And it's also important to keep in mind how much you can handle, right? Don't over accept things, and only accept what you think you can handle, right? Because if you take too much, you kind of set yourself up for failure, right? So, it may take some time to adjust, but again, you want to balance things out. You don't want to do too much. And for me, what I find helpful is, anything that is on the lower end, low urgency, low importance, is usually where I start kind of shaving things off of my plate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you miss this special announcement? Shiny, could I ask you a favor, if that's okay? Could you possibly append the pin message with the link? Is that okay? I'll send the link again. Sorry, I hate to ask you to do something. Oh my gosh, here we go. Here's the link. That is part of the special announcement. But there you go. So in terms of being unmotivated and procrastinating, KR, I hope my advice helped out. Like objectives in a video game. I'm gonna do a quick tangent before I do my final, closing for KR's question. So I saw someone saying like, I want to see what your like fun sort of like motivational tracker is, right? Your habit trackers and things like that. If you don't know what a habit tracker is, like let's say there's a thing that you want to create into a habit, whether it's I want to, make sure I brush my teeth before I eat breakfast every day or something like that. And you're trying to keep track of, making sure you do it. These are habit trackers. Somebody on TikTok made an RPG style habit tracker, and they have habits and goals and things like that, and they call them quests, and they assign like experience points to those quests and things like that. And, smaller things, easier things have less XP, and then bigger things have bigger XP. And they have like a level tracker too. So when they check something off, it increases their, experience bar. And, level one, if they get to level one, they get a treat, a small treat. Level two, they get a small treat. And if they get to level 10, then they get to go on a vacation. And I thought that was super fun, do whatever you need to do to motivate yourself and find that excitement in your life. And gamifying, exactly. Oh my gosh. Do what you need to do to find that sort of intrinsic motivation. Even if it's turning your life into a video game, if it's fun for you and, not too, I guess, difficult to do. But yes, KR, thank you so much for sharing your concern. And I guess my final, words on that are best of luck in work and school. I know it can be a very difficult time, especially balancing both. So I wish you the best of luck. And remember, journeys aren't linear. So, you may start working on it and you might, backtrack a little bit. And that's okay. You got to think about the overall climb. So best of luck to you. Yeah. Next up, we have we have a name submitted for this one. So I'm gonna say this is from TR. TR, thank you so much for submitting your question, concern. And Shiny, thank you so much for the new pinned message. Let's see. So this one's short. It just says coming out. So TR, thank you so much for your concern and your question. First of all, thank you so much for having the courage and the trust in me to, share, right? So this is something personally I've never had to come out, but this is something I've had to help a couple of friends through. So hopefully, my advice is from my experience. So maybe it may not be as detailed as you might hope, but I hope it to some degree it's helpful. Let's see. I guess the first thing that comes in my mind when I think of, when an individual is trying to come out, I think the first thing is safety. And that goes in two ways. So physical and mental safety. I know that seems kind of like, odd to differentiate the two, but a lot of times people forget about mental safety as well. I guess make sure that you're in a safe space. If you feel unsafe at all, where you are or where you're living, maybe try to find maybe a friend that you could stay with for a little bit or a local shelter if at all possible. Let's see. If you do not have this sort of, emotional bandwidth to have a confrontation at the moment, I think a lot of people feel like they have to address things right away. But you also have to be mindful of your emotional bandwidth as well. Don't feel like you have to confront everything right away. Remove yourself from any sort of difficult situation that might compromise your emotional safety and, your physical safety as well. And, come back to it when you are able and ready on your own terms to have this sort of confrontation. But yeah, so first things off the bat, please stay safe. Don't do anything that might compromise your safety. I guess the second bit would be who you would tell, right? Because, part of coming out is telling people in your life, right? So you want to, I guess, get a read or an understanding of the people around you, right? You want to find people who you kind of understand, like who might be supportive of you or maybe who wouldn't be supportive of you, right? So, maybe, if it's important for you to tell certain people, but you don't feel like they would be very supportive at the moment, maybe you can wait until you've maybe removed yourself from a certain like dependent position, like maybe wait until you are able to move out or be financially independent before you are able to tell certain people. But find those people who are supportive of you. Maybe it's your friends, or maybe it is you do have to reach out and find a community. Whatever the case, I think it's important to find people who will be understanding. And I mentioned earlier, there may be some people in your life that you find important to tell, but they may not understand what's going on. And, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel safe to have that sort of open conversation or, have that sort of level of understanding between you and whether it's your family or loved ones, wait until you feel safe to have that sort of conversation and understanding between people. Kind of going back to that whole safety conversation. But yeah, surround yourself with a community. Maybe learn more about that community, the history, and things like that. Yeah, safety is very important. And let's see. Oh, one thing that's important is how to say it. I think a lot of people, don't know how should I go about doing it. So, you could always practice and write it down. Even practice the different ways that this sort of, I guess, the way you say it might go across. As I've seen people make like fun like PowerPoint presentations, and as someone who likes PowerPoint presentations, you know that that I'm a huge proponent of that, like with fun transitions and stuff. But if you don't feel comfortable saying it out loud, you can message somebody. Maybe you can invite someone to a restaurant or something. Maybe like a public place is more comfortable for you over lunch or dinner, or maybe a private place is more comfortable for you. Whatever the case, I think it would be a good idea to kind of think about it beforehand. Yeah, exactly. Just act natural and do whatever comes to mind, right? So do whatever makes you most comfortable. Yeah, me too. For me personally, simulating like a very important conversation in my head helps me. So do whatever, makes you comfortable in this important, I guess, moment. One big important thing is don't downplay it. This is a very important thing. I know a lot of times this happens to me where something's important to me, but I'm nervous that no one else will find it as important. So don't downplay how important it is to you. Say enough of what you want to say, but don't say so much that you feel uncomfortable. This is your time. This is you want to do this on your own terms. So, don't feel like you have to say too much or like, oh, I don't think I said this enough. This is your experience and you should cater it to, whatever you're comfortable with. Exactly. You matter. This is very important to you. So make sure you give it the, I guess, importance that it deserves. Another really important thing, let people who you do tell who you want to know. So, for example, maybe we talked about safety earlier. So maybe you find that somebody else you feel comfortable and safe sharing that information with, but maybe you don't quite yet feel comfortable sharing this information with, the community at large or other people in your life. So it's really important, I guess, if that you do find that you're in that situation, to let that person know, like, oh, I don't want maybe my parents to know, or I don't want people at school to know, or I don't want people at work to know. So make sure that you let them know. I think, you can't really, some people may not understand and just want the best for you and are excited for you and want to share that excitement for you. But, if you're in the situation where you're not quite ready to share that with the world at large, then let them know that, just to set some boundaries as well. And then I think in general, be prepared for any sort of reaction. You never know, you never know. Well, you can never expect what other people are going to say. Expect that some people might have questions, and, even though people might have questions, do express and support your boundaries. If you don't feel comfortable asking a bunch of questions all at once, keep that in mind, express your boundaries, and understand that maybe some people will take time to process things that you've shared, right? Maybe this isn't something that they've experienced before, and they need to kind of understand, like, oh, okay, I understand now what you're trying to say. So, best of luck to TR. This again, I appreciate your courage in sharing, and I hope the best for you. So, and for this advice and concern, and the previous, we've gotten some kind words and some short advices. So I hope those have helped as well. And yes, good luck best of luck. We are rooting for the best for you. So that is our second advice. I hope I hope I'm giving enough advice. I'm nervous that I'm not giving enough, but this is just coming from my stream of consciousness, my heart, I guess. So I hope it helps, even if it's just a little bit. Yeah. So here we have a advice, a concern, a question from not actually a baker. Oh, that a fun little pseudonym. The sentence, a phrase, if you will. So, not actually a baker says, "Hello, Rita. I am a baker and I've had some success making certain types of bread." Oh, what kind of bread? Well, they're not actually a baker, right? So, I guess this is a cover story, if you will. I do enjoy making them, but now I'd like to move on and do other things. That's fair. I fear that people who have been enjoying my bread for a while now are only interested in me making more of those kinds of breads and not really interested in me trying new things. I took some time off and I've thought about leaving and starting over to not be a baker anymore. But I feel like I've made them wait too long and that I'm letting them down. What should I do? P.S. I love your voice and I've always loved watching your streams, but I usually lurk because I make myself sound like a fool whenever I say something in chat. Aw, don't say that. I wish you and everybody the absolute best. Well, first of all, not actually a baker, thank you so much for your kind words. What I'm getting from this, concern, this advice is a creative shift. Do I have that right? You're kind of going through a sort of creative shift. Again, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate that little, what does PS stand for? Not PlayStation. Oh my gosh. Best of luck in your creative shift. It can be a very exciting and confusing time, going through and changing something and becoming and trying something new. I don't know if it would be considered becoming a newbie at something again. Postscript, that's what PS stands for. I feel like I knew that somewhere in the back of my mind, but I just forgot. But I guess the first thing I want to pinpoint in this one is, other people not being interested in you trying new things. I guess the first thing that comes into my mind is let your community know. Let your community what you're thinking about. Let them know about it. Thinking, oh, I'm thinking of trying something. I'm, and this is a kind of a shift that you'll see in my content, I guess. So obviously, there's going to be people who have certain tastes. Some people might just like croissants and they don't eat any other croissants, and obviously don't take that personally. But some people will, be very excited about your journey because they like all the bread. They just like seeing you make bread, or they just like seeing you go on your journey and be who you are and explore and grow. Don't feel like you're, quote unquote, letting anyone down, because this is your sort of, I guess, creative journey, right? And creative journeys just in and of themselves are very personal. So, people having expectations for your personal journey, you shouldn't feel bad about it, right? Don't feel bad about, not meeting someone's expectations or, I guess meeting their preferences. Because again, this is your personal journey. This is your creative journey. So people will tag along to support you no matter what. So I hope that helps in that realm of, people not being interested in you trying new things. Yeah. Exactly. Go for your own happiness. I agree. Think of the long term. Do you want to be stuck in one place, especially if you want to grow and try new things? And remember we said earlier about intrinsic motivators, right? Make sure the things that you're doing are motivated by, but by your internal motivators. I do, though, this is kind of a tangent. If this is like a financial situation, if you are dependent on your finances that you get from these breads that a lot of people really enjoy, maybe continue for a little bit until you have a cushion. that you're comfortable with. Because for me, I'm a huge proponent of following your dreams, but I think you should definitely do that responsibly. Me personally, when before I became a full-time agent, I made sure to, even though I was like, oh, I just want to become a full-time agent right now, I knew that, again, trying to think long-term, that I wouldn't be able to be a full-time agent for an extended amount of time if I didn't have, a financial cushion. So, follow your heart, but also do be responsible. So if you find yourself financially dependent on, this sort of, I guess, content or bread that you're making, maybe work on it just a little bit longer and make that cushion for yourself. Or maybe even create avenues for people to support you outside of maybe, buying your breads or viewing your breads, right? So maybe like a Patreon or something, right? But, I think, I guess it shouldn't be with that, expectation that you are going to create this or that specifically, right? Just if say, if you want to support my journey or things like that, set that boundary so that people, don't, you know, maybe they send a message thing, oh, I want you to make this specifically, in this specific genre. So kind of set that boundary and think, I'm just going to set this up. You don't have to, but this is kind of just, I want to explore my creative shift. I want to go through this content change and just have that, set up that boundary. If you do decide to make like an avenue for, I guess, other ways for folks to support you. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of vague. Oh my goodness. Let's see. LOL. I know. Sometimes I very not eloquent. So I apologize if my advices sound like ramblings. POV. This is what I sound like when I'm like just chatting with like friends or family, and they ask me for advice, and they think, "Oh, Rita, you're gonna have so many great eloquent things to say," and I just go, you, very stream of consciousness, but just stuff that I'm kind of scrounging up in my brain. Oh my gosh. So I talked about, other people's, I guess, interest in you and your breads. Talked about finances. Um, I guess embrace change, right? I think a lot of people think like, oh, change is difficult and shifting to a new sort of bread might be jarring. Like maybe I won't see as many people at the bakery, and maybe for a while as you find that new, I guess, audience or people who like those certain kinds of breads. It may take a while to find that shift. So, embrace the change. It can be very jarring at first, but it can be very rewarding and refreshing, not just for you, but for your audience in the long run, right? You don't want to stagnate. You don't want to end up doing the same thing over and over again. And keeping in mind that, creative shifts are very common for long-term bakers, right? You don't want to find yourself stagnating. So, don't feel too bad. It can be a very jarring experience, but it is something that a lot of people have done before, and it's often very necessary to keep things fresh and, go, I guess, rewarding and exciting, keeps you on your toes. Exactly. So, I don't know. Hope that helps. Oh my gosh. Yeah, change is difficult, but if the best path was the easiest one, the world would have no problems. If every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. But best of luck on your creative shift. Not actually a baker. We're rooting for you. Mm-hmm. And next up, we have a question/concern from Anonymous, I guess. An anonym? Thank you for your question and concern. Here we go, water check. So Anonym says, recently I found out that I have inheritable moderate hearing loss. Oh my goodness. So I probably should avoid using headphones. However, that makes it really hard to watch streams or listen to music, so I still use headphones a lot even though I know this is wrong. Again, thank you for submitting your concern, Anonym. And from what I'm, this is a shorter one, so I guess my summary probably won't be as needed. But this has to do with a recent development with your hearing. I guess my first thing that I want to say is, it's probably very confusing or scary to, one, hear about this new news or kind of understand this development concerning yourself. So, and it may be a difficult lifestyle change trying to adjust to this. So, you know, it's okay to feel frustrated in this change, in this shift, in trying to adapt to this new piece of information. So, it's okay. You're not alone. It's okay to feel frustrated and even scared or confused. And it's okay to make mistakes as you adjust, but at the end of the day, you do want to do what's best for you. Um, I'm not a medical professional, so I really don't have much to say about this one. So I hope you don't mind. This is going to be more on like the emotional aspect of it. It looks like you've talked to somebody about it. And if you ever have any questions about what else you can be doing or what things may not be appropriate for your hearing loss, maybe consult a medical professional again, and they may have advice for you on how you can, improve your, I guess, habits so as to not, I guess, further detriment your hearing loss. So, but the little advice that I can give, I guess it's really hard to think long term, especially when it's so easy to do things in the short term and not worry about the consequences in the long term. So, as someone who really enjoys music and also loves listening to things, I can understand why this would be so hard to think of all the short term things that you can do to make sure that in the long term you don't, I guess, further detriment your medical situation. So I guess find ways in the short term that can change your habits in the long term. So for me, I maybe you can write a sticky note that says like, don't do this because, right? I think oftentimes what makes things difficult for me to, make into habit, right? You have to do it a lot for it to become a habit. But what often keeps me from doing something repeatedly enough to where it becomes a habit is I forget why I do it. Because it's either so far in the future or the consequences are so further down the road that I can't see it. But having that friendly reminder that, if you do this or if you don't do this, then this is what will happen. And I know that's kind of scary, but for someone like me who forgets, who needs to know why I have to do something to understand, to kind of do it, then it's helpful for me. So I guess understanding the long-term effects and working to build in habits that benefit, your health in the long term is very helpful. And reaching out to a medical professional or even, doing your own research to find ways that can help your situation or at least not further detriment your situation. Maybe limiting the amount of time you have, you listen to stream or music with your headphones in. Maybe trying to listen more with a speaker, kind of adjusting volume. And if it's difficult at first, maybe you can kind of, give yourself ways that you can slowly get adjusted to this new habit, right? Like maybe say you use your headphones a certain number of times a week. Maybe try next week a little bit less and then a little bit less and a little bit less to make it, I guess, easier on, because you don't want to have just a huge abrupt change. Right. Yeah, it can be a rough shift, but I agree. I believe you can do it. And again, it's growth and change isn't linear, so don't feel frustrated that it's a difficult change to make right away. But, it is important for your health. So talk to a medical professional, seek medical literature, and, understand that this is a very big change. And it's okay to feel frustrated or confused or even scared with this big change. So best of luck with that, Anonym, and I wish for your continued health and safety and happiness. So thank you so much for sharing. Next up, we have, it looks like another name, so I'm going to shorten it again. Next up, we have a concern from a MC. That's going to be the, I guess, the initials that I'll use for this one. So MC says, it's hard to find someone to love because of others' interests. Is there a way to find someone to love with the same interests? MC, thank you so much for the question. And if I'm getting this right, it's finding love with people with similar interests. First of all, I guess my first thought is you're not alone, MC. I talked about this a little bit in my last charity stream, but people are increasingly finding themselves lonely or having this issue of finding love or finding a connection, especially with the people who have the same interests. So, it is possible you can find love. I have lots of friends who have, same interests as me. And some of my best friends I've met through, I guess shared interests like anime that we both like or hobbies that we both have, playing viola, cosplay, things like that. So it is possible. So just got to hang in there and work towards it. So I guess let's see. Finding love with someone with the same interests. I guess the first thing is, okay, number one, be yourself, right? You don't want to make the mistake of befriending someone who won't like you for who you really are. So be yourself. I know that's cheesy. Be yourself. And, if you find that's not working, it's just because you haven't found the right people yet. I used to have this problem where I would kind of put up this front of what I think people would want to see in me. And I found that to be very tiring because every time I would go back and interact with that person, I'd have to put up that same, what's it called? I'd have to put up that same, I guess, image that isn't, myself. So it got to be very tiring. And whenever I did, kind of let my wall down and I guess be a little bit more like myself, they'd be a little confused. Maybe, there's this jarring expectation. Obviously, you don't have to tell everything about yourself right away. And, you're not comfortable acting a certain way in front of people. Yeah, and that's okay. But be yourself, be true to yourself, be genuine. And slowly but surely, you'll find people who appreciate for who you are. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see. Second thing is, I guess, in your process of finding people to love with similar interests, don't have, I guess, an expectation on the outcome. And I don't know in terms of love if you mean like a platonic love or a romantic love, but regardless, don't go with an expectation of how people will react or want out of a relationship with you. But do let people know what your feelings are, right? If you have a certain intention, like maybe, so let's say, for example, you want to make friends. If you go into a space, say, hey, I want to make friends. Or like, I want to have like workout buddies or something like that. Or I want to find people to cosplay with. Or maybe if you do mean it in a romantic sense, if you, I don't know, dating app or something, whatever avenue you choose, say like, I'm looking for, a short-term relationship, a long-term relationship. What do you want out of it? I'm a very extroverted person, a very introverted person. But just be very honest with your feelings and don't have any sort of expectations of how other people will react. Because I feel like if you think, oh, I'm absolutely going to have a friend when I dive into this, I guess, social situation. And then, you can't control how somebody else will react. Then you kind of set yourself up for, a sad moment when it doesn't live up to your expectations. So go in with a goal, but not an expectation, if that makes sense. Yeah. And thank you, Shiny, so much for the friendly reminder. And again, please do check the description. I think Shiny had mentioned earlier. I'm just answering the submitted questions through the form just to kind of do a control and a flow control, I guess. So I don't get too overwhelmed with too many questions. But I hope to do more of these in the future. So I'll definitely be opening up another form in the future when I do more of these. I guess my last piece of advice for MC is, find places where, you're going to be more successful to find people with a similar interest. Like if you're going to go to like the grocery store or a random, I don't know, restaurant or a bar or something, expecting to find someone who has very, like with a very niche interest or something, your rate of success is going to be very low compared to maybe you join a Discord group or you go to a social event specifically for that interest, like a convention or something. Your rate of success is going to be a lot higher. So find like Discord groups, social media communities, clubs, events, organizations. I recently wanted to find more people I could connect with musically. So I searched up for orchestras in my area and I found a community orchestra that, I every week I get to say hi and I remember their names and we get to make music together. And, my little viola section, I don't talk to them outside of orchestra, but every time we see each other at rehearsal, we say, hey, how was that thing you had last week? Oh, how did it go? And it's just a nice way to find people with similar interests. And, aside from music, I don't think we have much in common, in completely different industries. I would have never met them otherwise, but we have this shared love for music, and that's just something fun we can talk about, in that sort of space, I guess. Yeah. But best of luck, MC. Again, this is something I think a lot of people struggle with, especially in this day and age. Feeling disconnected despite being in a digital age. Um, but you're not alone, and don't feel like you're behind or that you're not doing as well as other people, because this is a shared experience with everyone. Best of luck, MC, and to anyone else who may be going through a similar situation. All right. Next up, we have a question from Little Cub. Like a lion cub or something. That is such a fun name. Oh my goodness. So Little Cub's question is, I guess the first is a sentence and then there's a question. Hi Rita, I'm writing in to ask for your advice on making friends. I've been out of high school for a couple years now, and I have my own small circle of friends from there. But as of late, I feel like we've been drifting apart. I'm worried that if I don't start meeting people soon, I'll find myself with no one at all. How would you go about meeting and making friends? And how would you go about overcoming social awkwardness? Thank you so much for the question. This may overlap a little bit with the previous question. I think obviously making friends, I think one of the big things is finding people with similar interests. So kind of carrying some of the advice from the previous question. I do want to point out something that you mentioned. You mentioned that you have a group about your circle of friends, right? Your friends from high school. I mean, if you feel like you've been drifting apart and you want to reconnect, I can talk a little bit about reconnecting with an old group of friends. So if this is something you want to do, again, you don't have to. If you find that this is a phase in your life where you think, oh, I want to meet new people, maybe with similar interests. Maybe you can reach out and let them know, like, hey, how are you all doing? I know it's been a while, but what is everyone doing? Like, I want to, kind of almost, I don't want to say reinsert yourself into their life, but, get back in touch. Find things that you can have in common with them again. I have a similar experience to this. I had a group of friends when I was younger, and we would all do like orchestra stuff. We knew each other from like being in an orchestra together. And aside from that, we didn't have too many similar. Well, we were all nerds, so we were all orchestra girls, and we were all nerds. So I was like an anime nerd. Some of us liked video games. Some of us were only like into books or only into certain Netflix shows. But we had a shared experience, and obviously, as we like grew up, we had different paths in life, different, I guess, journeys. And of course, by nature, we would kind of, drift apart in that sense. But, I really wanted to stay in touch with them. So even though I found that, the interests that we had or the moments that we would hang out together, right, because we would no longer be in an orchestra, those times would be getting smaller and smaller. I'd kind of find ways to show them that I'm still interested in. Maybe we don't have the same interests anymore, but I'm still interested in their life. Like, hey, I saw that you got a new job, or that you like found yourself a really awesome opportunity, or that you went on a vacation. How was that? Find, I guess, moments of connection and let them know that you're still interested. And, as you start to talk more, or let them know that you're still interested in their lives, then maybe then you can suggest, hey, I really miss you guys. How about we have like a quick little, lunch or a get together? Yeah. And you never know, they may be going through the same thing that you are, and maybe they'd be very excited to, reconnect. So I'm really happy that I also had this sort of reconnecting experience. Maybe I don't get to see these old friends all the time, but we often send each other like things like, oh, this TikTok reminded me of you, or hey, I saw that you got this award, congratulations, and just letting them know that you know I still care about them, and maybe we only get to meet once a year or something like that, but letting them know that I do care, and you know that I'm interested is helpful. But if you are maybe I guess this sort of phase of your life, you want to move on into a new chapter, and that's okay, right? Maybe you want to find people in your area or nearby who have similar interests with you, and that's okay. How do you go about meeting and making friends? I mentioned before, finding events and spaces where people are more likely to have similar interests. So I'm going to, I guess, shift more onto this second question you have, which is how would you go about overcoming social awkwardness? Um, First of all, I'd have to say, don't feel bad if you're socially awkward. I think, social skills are something that everyone could work on, and it's kind of like a toolbox you have to update. So you can't you got to keep working at it. One thing you could do is talk to people that you're already close to, or maybe that you feel are wouldn't judge you if you do need to practice or ask for advice or get suggestions. Maybe put yourself in a low stakes situation where like you meet people who maybe like in passing, like you'll never see them again, so it doesn't matter if you feel like you're gonna make a fool of yourself. Practice in those situations, and then maybe run through practice scenarios with friends or family in your head. But really, the best practice is to put yourself in that situation. So put yourself into more social situations and embrace, I guess, awkwardness, right? You're not going to say the right thing all the time. And even with people who are very good at socializing, they're going to run into awkward situations and things like that. So, if you do find yourself where, in a situation where like, oh, I messed that up. Oh gosh, I feel really bad about it. Let yourself feel bad. I've definitely had those moments and I go, oh, Rita, why did you say that? But, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. It's like, maybe the other person didn't think it was as awkward as I thought it was. Or maybe turn that into a learning moment. Embrace the scuff, exactly. And hey, I've had a lot of awkward moments with some of my best friends. And to them, it's like either they think it's a funny memory, or honestly, 99% of the time, they don't remember. That's one piece of advice that's really helped me is if you remember something embarrassing that you did, 99.9% you are the only person who remembered and no one else remembers. Unless you bring it up, of course. But, they say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. They're going to remember that. And every single time I talk to them, they're going to think about that one mistake that I made. 99.9%, no one's going to remember that except for yourself. So hopefully you find solace in that. And you know what? Like, hopefully it gives you, I guess, the courage to fail, or the courage to be awkward. It's okay. Yeah, they forego, exactly. So, I definitely have many embarrassing moments that are kind of jokes and stuff within my friends, but it's because I brought them up, and they even say things like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. That's really funny." So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that helps. But yeah, put those skills to practice. Be mindful of how I mentioned this in my charity stream, but be mindful about what you're thinking in your head when you go into social situations, because if you find yourself already kind of setting yourself up for failure and thinking, I'm going to do badly in this social situation, I'm going to be really awkward, then you kind of make yourself nervous and, scared before you even put yourself in that situation. So maybe give yourself the benefit of the doubt, hype yourself up a little bit, and if bad things happen, then they happen, and you can learn from them and move on. Yeah. That's very helpful advice. I hope so. But yeah, sometimes I miss certain social cues. I don't understand references and things like that, and maybe there's some body language I fail to understand, and that's okay. You're not everyone's gonna understand every single thing that someone says, and just gotta embrace that. Yeah, and you can learn over time. right? Social skills aren't something you just know all of a sudden. You got to work on that. And it doesn't matter if you're, you know, 2 years old, you're 20 years old. I was going to say 200 years old, but I don't think anyone's ever lived to 200 years old. It doesn't matter, right? It's a toolbox that you got to keep updating and fixing. But best of luck to you, little cub. I hope that works out. I hope you're able to make some friends, whether it's your friends from high school or new friends. So I hope you have lots of fun. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Next up, we have random Gatorade bread. Random. As opposed to not random Gatorade bread or regular bread. Random regular bread. So random Gatorade bread says, how should I change my perspective when my anxiety and depression makes it out that it seems like everyone dislikes me? I can't say too much on in personal experience in terms of depression making it seem like everyone dislikes me, but I've definitely used to have a lot of anxiety, especially when I first became a VTuber. I think I had a lot of anxiety about like, oh, especially since I didn't know anything really. I was completely new to everything, and I was just nervous. Like, oh gosh, you know, what if this? What if that? What if someone's saying this, or what if someone thinks that, or what if I made a mistake and someone got hurt because of it? So, in terms of changing perspective, um, first of all, uh, I keep mentioning this. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I guess this process of changing your perspective isn't going to happen right away. It's almost like exercising, if you can imagine that. It's like a muscle, right? Your brain is a muscle, and you have to exercise it. So, you got to work on training your brain muscle to adjust your perspective. And it's not going to happen right away. And especially in the beginning, it's going to be very difficult. Again, like exercising a muscle. If you haven't exercised in a long time, when you first start exercising, you're going to be really, really sore. Start off simple with simple exercises and then work your way up. Some days you're gonna need a rest day from exercising. Some days the workout's gonna be a little bit harder, and maybe you'll find yourself, going backwards in your workout routine. But over time, you can exercise that muscle. Things that I do to exercise, or back when I used to have a really bad anxiety when it comes to being, I guess, a presence on the internet, and I was worried about, people disliking me. I positive affirmations do so much. Like how push-ups or curl-ups or something would be a great exercise for your arms. For your brain, positive affirmations and kind of giving yourself the benefit of the doubt is a great starter exercise. And I know it doesn't seem like much. It's like you're picking up the 2-pound weight when you feel like you should be picking up like the 25-pound weight. But starting off and I guess training that internal voice to say things like, instead of, oh, what if this piece of content I put out, made someone cringe or something, or someone's laughing at it, right? Making fun of me. Try to think of, oh, what if this content I put out helps somebody? What if this content I put out made somebody laugh, but in a good way, right? Like it made somebody's day. Try to think of the more positive things. I know that seems, easier said than done. I know that for sure. But it is something that builds up over time. So it's not going to work out right away. Similar to, exercise, for some people, exercising and putting a routine together on their own is difficult. And sometimes people seek out, personal trainers, and sometimes people search up workouts online. Maybe they'll take a class, like a group class, how they have those like group cycling classes or something. So, similar to how you would have a professional trainer, you can seek out help from a professional brain exerciser, someone who can help you exercise those brain muscles, right? Whether it's therapy, a trusted individual in your life, maybe who has gone through a similar experience, seeking their advice and their help is very helpful. Again, similar to attending maybe like a group exercising class. Maybe you can attend a group class or group therapy and see how other people kind of exercise their brain muscles to, I guess, adjust their perspective. But for me personally, changing this perspective, in my experience, is doing those tiny little things that will eventually, you know, exercise my muscle more and more. I think another thing I do aside from positive affirmations is I kind of just sit down and think like, why do I think that? Why is it that I automatically assume that there's a negative connotation to this? Why do I automatically assume that, someone's thinking something badly about me? Why can't I assume that, like, let me practice doing this instead? And then talking to people about it, especially as a content creator, what I do a lot is talk to other content creators and how they feel and the experiences and thoughts that they have. It really helps me, at least, to see that, I'm not alone. At least it makes me feel, I guess, stronger in this journey in trying to adjust my perspective, because I think a lot of times what stops me from growing, or I almost like paralyzes me with fear, is that I'm the only one and that there's something wrong with me. But, talking to other people and understanding this is something that a lot of people experience, right? It makes me feel like, oh, I can do this. There's nothing wrong with me. I am not alone, and it doesn't seem as scary to make this adjustment. Yeah. Homework is a brain exercise. Really, because I think a lot of people fail to understand that, just like whether like exercise or even eating healthy or, things like that, taking care of your brain and your mental health is just as important, because it can have effects on other parts of your health, physical or otherwise. So, yeah. If you find that it's difficult to do yourself, maybe seek out a personal trainer or a group class, like how you would do with exercise. But again, random Gatorade bread, this isn't something that's going to change overnight. And I know it's going to be a difficult journey, but you're not alone, and we're rooting for you. And we wish the best for you. And I hope that helped even just a little bit. Even if it's just hearing that, we got your back and we're on your side and we want the best for you. Yeah. So, hey, at least I don't dislike you. So there's that. That's okay. And for those maybe who are a little bit later on in their journey of, accepting that, changing this perspective. Because for me, when I first started this journey, it was a matter of, focusing on telling myself that not everyone dislikes me, right? There are people in my life who love me and appreciate me and support me. That was the beginning of my journey when it came to dealing with my anxiety surrounding being an internet presence. And then later on, kind of in the middle and into this day, the journey shifted from not everyone dislikes me to it's okay that people dislike me. It's okay that there is. So that first part is, I have people who love, understanding that you have people who love and support you. And then the second half is being okay with the people who do dislike you. And so wherever you are in that journey, wherever you are in that line, I wish you the best of luck. Mm-hmm. And on to the next one. I think this is a username that I've seen before. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a new name. We'll do PS. How's that? Postscript. Oh my gosh. Next up, we have a question from PS. Here we go. Water check. By the way, quick pause. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to do a couple more. And then I'm going to go... I have to go to my Thanksgiving dinner. So I apologize if I'm not able to get to all of the submitted ones today. I do have thoughts on all of these today. I kind of did a cursory glance on these. So if I'm not able to get to all of them, my hope is that in the comment section, maybe over the weekend, I can kind of give my brief thoughts on some of the ones that I didn't get to today, because I do have some thoughts on some of these. So, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to submit these. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So PS says, how do you come up and develop good ideas for a song? How do you write lyrics that work well? And how should I reach out to other artists if I want to collaborate with them? Great questions all around. How do I come up and develop good ideas for a song? For me, when it comes to writing songs, my biggest inspiration is my feelings, is how I feel. So my two releases, One Step and Fearless, they were born from some of the not so wonderful thoughts that I've had. And it's my way of venting. Oh, Among Us noise. Din, 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 din. Yeah, Rita's sus. Oh my gosh, I saw her vent. No, but they're my way of, I guess, letting out my thoughts. So I journal. That's one way I kind of sort my feelings out. And a lot of times my journal pages turn into songs. So, one way I kind of sort out my feelings, right? Because if I find myself sitting and I feel icky and I don't know why, I have to sit down and write everything down that I'm thinking. Why am I feeling this way? Things like that. And so oftentimes my songs or my song ideas come from these sort of, I guess, thoughts, right? It's my way of organizing my thoughts, is I let them all out, whether it's on paper or through a song. So that's where I come up with ideas. A lot of times you want to show, not tell. So in terms of writing lyrics that work well, I at least try not to be too literal. You kind of want to paint a picture, right? But you don't want to tell it. You want to show it. So think about, things in your day to day. How would you describe them? How would you paint a picture, paint a scene? So that in terms of lyrics that work well, I guess that's what I would think of. I guess more technical stuff, you could think about, meter and rhythm and the stress of certain parts of words. Like making sure that, like, whenever you write lyrics in, that they're, not pronounced, but that the stress of the word is normally where it would be. I mean, obviously you can get creative, you can do some word play, but generally speaking, I want to put the stress on words where they normally would be. So, like, for example, the word playground. The stress is on playground. Playground, it would be kind of weird if you put stress on that word. So I don't know, the things I like to think about, if I can't think of anything else, I try to think of more basic theory stuff like rhythm and how stress of words fit into the rhythm and things like that. How you should reach out to other artists if you want to collaborate with them. I guess be very genuine. When I find artists that I want to collaborate with, I just let them know, like, I really like your work. I trust your work, and I would love to work with you. So I guess just be genuine and, like, let them know what you love about their work. Like, oh, I love how you, maybe if it's a visual artist, like, I love how you use color, or I love how you utilize line art. Let them know why you enjoy them. So they can kind of understand, like, oh, what sort of expectations you have. And obviously, you can search up their information and see how to reach out to them, whether it's a Google form, or maybe they like emails, or maybe they enjoy getting requests in their messages or through Twitter replies. Whatever works with them is how I would collaborate with them. Looking forward to that music theory stream. Well, you all won't have to wait too long. Dun dun dun. But those are my advices for developing good ideas for a song. Literally, the beginning of any creative phase, you should not have any filters. You should just stream of consciousness, write every single one of your ideas down, because you want to start off with too many ideas and then filter them down, because you don't want to start with not enough and have to build on it. So just write everything down in the beginning. Don't filter yourself in the beginning. You have no idea what music theory even is. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I love music theory. But it's going to be basics. If I do a music theory stream, we're going to start with basics. What is rhythm? What is pitch? Things like that. But P.S., best of luck with, your music and your song ideas. I'm looking forward to it, and let it be a fun experience. Don't worry too much about making it perfect right away. Again, you're part of your creative journey. So have fun with it, learn from it. You're not going to do things perfectly right away. You have to learn and let yourself learn. Let yourself make mistakes and let yourself grow and have fun. Yeah. Let's see. Next question is from Anon417. Thank you so much for the question, Anon417. Here we go. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I can fit everything. Maybe. Because I want to say what I have on my mind that comes up. So, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, here's Anon 417. Is it weird that I still play around with my figures despite being in my early 20s? I always got made fun of whenever I bring out a small Transformers figure to mess around with when I'm bored, or one of my Gundam models, though the latter still impresses people with the effort I put in to making one since I paint mine. But overall, the reactions I get are, aren't you this age? Why are you still playing with toys? Well, Anon 417, just short story, like long story short, there we go. No, I don't think it's weird. This is you're not hurting anyone. Lots of people are also into figures who are also in your age range. But regardless, it's something that you find enjoyment in. It's a creative outlet and you're not hurting anyone. So, I don't think it's weird at all. Do you have people who are also interested in what you are interested in? If you find yourself in a situation where you're surrounded by people who make you feel bad about your interests, maybe find a community or friends who also, appreciate what you appreciate. And, I say these questions, rhetorically because they're not anonymous, but, don't feel bad that you don't meet, I guess, society's expectations of what you should be interested or not interested in. I find hobbies and, things like of the sort, like maybe not just hobbies, but like TV shows that you're interested in, video games that you're interested in. These are all very incredibly personal experiences. And I don't think people should have any sort of say or I guess, any sort of negative opinion on something that makes you happy. Yeah, and you don't need to explain yourself. I remember when I told someone I was really into Steven Universe, like the TV show. Someone was like, "That's a kids' cartoon. Why are you watching a kids' cartoon if you're a young adult?" And I said, to me, first of all, my experience with the show, they could never understand my experience with the show, but to me, it was a great way for me to understand a lot of my feelings, right? They had a lot of topics and, I guess, I guess topics is the word I'm looking for. There are a lot of topics that made me reflect on my life and my relationships with my friends and family, and it was a very meaningful experience with me. And not only that, it's a show that I watched with other friends, with some of my classmates, and they turned into really good friends of mine. And it's just a really fun show. I like the jokes, I like the designs, I love the music, and who's to like, I guess, police my experience with that, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, no harm in it, right? So I don't think it's weird. Yeah. Rita was like, first of all, I don't know. I don't think you should feel bad. And I guess I felt very strongly about this because, I've had that happen to me before and it made me feel really bad about myself. And you shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't feel ashamed for something, that brings you happiness and, I'm assuming it motivates you. It gives you something to do. It's a creative outlet. And like I said, you're not hurting anyone. So, people shouldn't be saying, why are you still playing with toys? No harm in playing with toys. I personally have a lot of plushies and they make me happy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Does rewatch Bleach again and again weird? If it makes me happy, then that's okay. I think though there is a line where if it, again, we talked about the harm thing. If you find it to be harmful to you as well, I'm assuming it's not an addiction of sorts. But somebody mentioned watching Bleach again and again. I watch it again and again in that, like, I watch it maybe once a year when I'm working in the background. But if I had like a hobby, like maybe if figures, like building figures, became almost like addiction level where you couldn't do anything but figures. I'm assuming this isn't the case. But if that is the case, and I can see why people may be like, I'm a little concerned that maybe you're taking this a little too far. And it's, it's becoming cumbersome on the rest of your life. It's preventing you from doing things like taking care of yourself, eating, maybe going to work. But as long as that's not the case, it's not harming you or anyone else, You're fine. Hello, my name is Rita Kamishiro and I'm addicted to watching Bleach. No! No! Not anymore. Just kidding. Oh my goodness. But on 417, I hope you don't feel bad. This is an amazing, hobby. And you should be proud. I would love to try putting a Gundam model together. I think it takes a lot of patience and, I guess attention to detail that a lot of people can't say that they have. So, yeah, appreciate that and appreciate your skills in that hobby. That's super cool. Yeah. And on to the next question. Best of luck with your hobbies, and I hope you continue to enjoy, making models. Here we go. Next up, we have a question from Rotek. Thank you so much for your submission. Let's see. I'm entering into a new workplace in a location that I have little experience in. From what I do know, I will need to be very proactive in order to find things in this new location that fit my interests and to make friends. However, time is not a thing I will have an abundance of. Is there any advice you can give on maintaining hobbies and friendships in the face of a tight schedule? I do. I talked a little bit about this, again, in the charity stream, so if you want a more thorough answer, you can go back to that stream. But in terms of an answer that I can give you just off the top of my head, when it comes to, having a difficult balance between work and making friends, I had a similar experience with that when I was first entering Idle Side Job. I was balancing Idle Side Job and, I moved to a new place and I had all my friends online, but I also wanted to meet people in my area. Maybe I can go hiking with, just, surround myself with people. I'm a people person. I want to hang out with people. And then I also had, VTubing and things like that. So I tried to combine the circles, I guess. Imagine like a Venn diagram. I wanted to make those overlapping sections bigger so it would be easier, right? What's the phrase? Get two birds with one stone. So, making sure you do a good job at work and making friends, maybe you can combine those and make it, more efficient, I guess. I don't mean to make it seem like I'm just gamifying everything. But, if you find it difficult to have time for work, but then also go out and find like a new place, maybe you can see if your workplace has social events. Find a friend at work, maybe befriend and get to know your work buddies. Right, your coworkers, and maybe start there so that process of making friendships and getting better at your job is kind of almost in tandem. Yeah, exactly. If you can find friends at work, it's a win-win, right? So, maybe it'll be easier for you to find friends in the workplace. It may be a little bit more difficult if you work from home, but, try to find those situations in your workplace. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier. But in terms of maintaining hobbies and friendships in the face of a tight schedule, you kind of have to build it into your schedule. Exactly. You can set up a Google Calendar. If you find that your schedule is keeping you from having time for your hobbies and having time for your friendships, you just got to build it into your schedule, right? Even if it's just half an hour or an hour, even if it's just 5 minutes sending a message to a friend, make time for it and be mindful of it. Because I think if you have kind of just this abstract wish, like, oh, I wish I was more, I was closer to people, or I wish I knew more people, then it's not going to happen. You have to put it in your schedule. So maybe 5 minutes every day thinking like, I want to message somebody. And I'm going to say like, hey, how was your day? Like dedicate 5 minutes to every day to send a message, Google search some events. And maybe that's the easiest way. And then maybe from there you can think, okay, this week is a little bit less busy in terms of work. I'm gonna go ahead and put an hour to go out to this event that I found. Maybe you can go volunteering with some work friends, things like that. Oh my gosh, you set up your iOS calendar. I hope it works out. My calendar has been a lifesaver. Before, when I was kind of trying to readjust into my schedule to have more social time, I would have like an hour to call this person or an hour to call this, specifically on my calendar. But now I kind of just have a mental reminder where it's like, hey, you haven't messaged so-and-so since a couple of days ago. Just check in on them. See how they're doing. Or you haven't gone out for brunch with your friends in 3 months. Like, let's do another 3-month check-in, right? Or a FaceTime or something. So, yeah, you kind of have to build it into your schedule in order to kind of And if you have trouble knocking things out of your schedule, um, kind of, I mentioned this earlier, have this sort of understanding of what things are more urgent, and if you find that you're constantly pushing hobbies and friendships down that urgency list, maybe it's time to start thinking about bumping it up a little bit. And it doesn't have to stay that way all the time, right? In certain parts of your life, you need to focus on one thing more than the other. Um, and you have to constantly be aware of that balance. What's best for you in that moment? And if you really feel like your work is becoming too much to where it's detrimental to your personal life, talk about it with your employer. And just be very genuine, like, hey, I find that, you know, I guess, I really want to get adjusted to, even if it's just like the workplace, like I you know, find it difficult to take care of my health and also my physical health, my mental health, things like that. And maybe have an honest conversation with your employer, and they may even be able to help you. Like, hey, we have a social on Friday. You can come and tune in and see if you can make some friends, or maybe they can connect you with other people at your company who have similar interests. I hope that helps. But best of luck with you, Rotech. I hope you, I hope you're able to find that balance, and I hope you find yourself, finding that sort of sense of belonging in that new location. I know it takes a while, but best of luck. Let's see. This next one is from Claudius. Thank you so much for the submission. It says, "Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for opening this space." Of course, my pleasure. All archangels appreciate it a lot. Well, as the pseudonym I chose hints, I have some problems communicating, especially public speaking. Whenever I have to speak with people in situations where I am being evaluated or it feels like it, I tend to be anxious and start to speak rather fast and even forget what I wanted to say. Also, some tips to sound more confident and clearer when speaking would be awesome. I have tried practicing reading out loud, but I feel that I sound silly and feel discouraged to keep trying it. Thank you so much for the submission, Claudius. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Problems communicating and especially public speaking. I guess I want to start this one out by saying I also used to be terrible and frightened by public speaking. I know, my gosh, Rita, you're a streamer. You talk all the time. You talk to yourself sometimes whenever you get into the Rita zone for like half an hour. What do you mean you're terrible at public speaking? I had to work on it. I really did. When I was around like high school age, I think back in middle school age, I was completely different. I think I was more introverted. Definitely. I was very quiet. I'm not as very outspoken. I wanted to be, but I was very nervous. I was very scared, and I got bullied a lot when I was in middle school, so I was always afraid for being like weird. So I was always afraid about saying something and taking up space because in my head I was always like, oh, people are gonna think I'm annoying. Oh gosh, people already think I'm annoying. I don't want to say anything. Like if I say something, no one's gonna take me seriously. So I kept to myself, even though even because with my close friends, I was very extroverted because that's how I wanted to be. I wanted to be a very extroverted person, but in general, I was just so shy and nervous. But I was like, I want to make this change, and so how I personally made that change is I put myself in situations where I had to practice. And it was jarring at first. It was absolutely terrifying at first, but I put myself in a situation where it was okay to make mistakes. So this specific situation was I joined like a speech class, a competitive speech class. It was crazy, I know. Because I really wanted to my route was just jump in and do it. And I have some advice for maybe people who aren't as, daring, I guess, oh my gosh, for maybe making those steps gradually on your own. But I joined a speech class, and every weekend I would just sign up for a competition and I would put myself in that situation, and over time I would get used to it, right? Because the whole thing is that you don't stop getting nervous. You get used to being nervous. You get used to being the feeling, and you're able to kind of sit with that uncomfortability and be okay with it. And you kind of get used to the, increased heart rate or the jitters, and you know how to control them, and you know how to, be okay with that. So I guess we said whenever you have to speak with people in situations where you're being evaluated or it feels like it, Oh, so I guess the biggest thing for me in that sort of situation is they aren't in your head, right? So like, let's say you're practicing, you have to give a speech, or you have to do a play or something, or you're acting something out, or even like an interview or something where it's unscripted. They don't know everything that you're in your head. So like, maybe you make a mistake. In your head, you think, oh my gosh, I said that wrong. Oh my goodness, I said that wrong, or I said the wrong number. They're not going to know that. They have a completely different perspective on you, and they're not able to have those tiny little thoughts about what you're thinking, right? Because think about how how being in the other seat. I think sorry, tangent. One thing that really helped me when I was nervous about interviews is I practiced. I interviewed other people, and I thought about how I felt when I was interviewing other people, and then going back into the seat being interviewed, I thought, oh yeah, they're not super focused on this tiny thing that I said, or they can't know that I said this wrong, or they can't know that I made this mistake. Especially if you know how to fake it till you make it. Oh my gosh. I guess the biggest thing is like I remind myself that I'm my biggest critic, and there's no way that the other person can even begin to be as critical to myself to me as I am to myself. So I guess that's my first thing in terms of, being anxious about what other people think. Speaking rather fast. So this is a tough one, especially since I just talk fast in general. I I talk fast in any situation when I'm excited, I'm nervous. I really don't know what to say to that. But that's always in casual speak. When I'm on stream, I don't worry too much about it. Or if I'm talking to friends, I don't worry too much about it. But if I'm doing a presentation in front of a group of people, or if I'm doing a recording, that isn't like for TikTok, because with TikTok you have to talk fast. That's just the way of TikTok. I guess record yourself. I know, oh gosh, I know why. I hate listening to recordings of myself. But if you kind of sit into that, I guess, uncomfortableness and, get used to, I guess, picking out things you want to change in your speech, then you can practice it even better, right? Because you can't work on something if you don't know what to fix. So record yourself. Oh gosh, I know. Yeah, I can already hear people going, "Oh no, why do I want to do that?" But it really does help, and I've done that before. And if you can, if you're doing like a in-person presentation, record a video of how you move too, what you're doing with your hands, how you're moving around the space. I could totally do I did a presentation before with some people that I was like working with about public speaking skills, and I have so many things I could say, but yeah, record yourself, see what things you want to fix about your sort of presentation skills, and go from there. If you don't know what to look for, if you don't know what to fix, find videos of speakers that you want to be like, that you really like, and kind of, not only to take notes, but kind of see, I really like how they said that. I really like how they utilize their space. I like how they walk around. I like how they make this gesture when they talk. Take those things that you like and try to, purposefully put it into the things that you do, or the different ways that you speak. And then from there, at least that's how I learned. I learned how to speak publicly by, listening to voice actors that I really like, or public speakers that I really like. Even like actors and actresses in plays and musicals, I like to listen to how they talk. And I, pick and choose, like, oh, I like how they say that, or I like that phrase, or I like how, she moves from this side of the stage to another. And it helps me. Mm-hmm. Tips to sound more confident and clearer when speaking would also be awesome. Let's see. Tips to sound more confident. If you make a mistake, don't let people know that you made a mistake. Like, let's say you accidentally said the wrong word. If it's like a synonym or something, just don't have any sort of indication, right? That you said it. Don't let them know, because they can't know possibly what you wanted to say, right? Just gloss over it. Don't worry about it too much. If you're giving a presentation, they're not going to think of every single word, right? There's no way someone's going to be able to pay attention to every single word and how each word they're going to be focusing on the bigger picture, right? So let's say you forgot an article in your sentence, or you accidentally used the wrong conjugation of a word. They're not going to notice if you just talk like you didn't make a mistake, right? I think the biggest indicator that you made a mistake or that you're not confident is if you like make a deal out of it. So try not to worry about small mistakes or saying the wrong thing. Most of the time, people won't be able to notice that because they're just trying to focus on getting the overall message, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Happy accidents, no mistakes. Happy accidents. Oh my gosh. And clearer when speaking. I find doing like vocal warm-ups are very helpful. Back when I used to have to do sort of, I guess, speaking competitions, I would warm up by doing different warm-ups. Warm up with different warm-ups. Oh my gosh. Like red velvet, violet velvet, red velvet, violet velvet, red velvet, violet velvet, violet velvet, red. Kind of getting used to difficult things that you might encounter in speech, and really just practice, opening up your mouth for mouth movements for when you speak. Yeah. Tongue twisters are also very good. There's another one that I really liked. I'm trying to remember it. Oh gosh, let me see. Warm up. Here we go. This is what I used to do all the time. It's called to sit in solemn silence. And it's really good. And you can also practice this with hand movements as well, to kind of really reel in your hand movements. It goes like this. To sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. And so you kind of you run into like very frequent, difficult parts in speech, and being able to practice that and enunciate that. Again, listening to how other people say it, being very mindful of your mouth movements, your lips, your teeth, your tongue, how to, I guess being very mindful of your mouth movements while you speak can also help train your brain to do them unconsciously, right? So obviously you don't want to talk all the time having your complete focus on your mouth. But over time, as you kind of practice, it'll become second nature. Yeah. So that's how my tip on speaking clearly. If you do have trouble, if you still have trouble, maybe you can find a speech therapist who can guide you through exercises, and guide you through practicing, different, I guess, ways of speaking. Yeah. Whatever you need. So, and to kind of talk about that last point, you tried practice reading out loud, but I feel that I sound silly and feel discouraged to try it. Don't feel silly. A lot of people do it. Even professional actors, actresses, they go into a practice room and they do these warm-ups and they practice reading out loud. So don't feel silly. If you do feel nervous, doing these practices in front of people, completely understand. Don't go do it by yourself. Go to a practice room, go to your room, find somewhere where you can practice in silence or in peace, and you don't have to worry about other people judging you. But it is not silly at all. It is very professional. It is very realistic. A lot of people do it. Practice reading out loud. I do it all the time. Like whenever I write a script for a TikTok, I write it and then I read through it first to see if it sounds like bad. And then I'm like, I make some more changes, like, oh, that doesn't read very well. Or I can't say that properly. There's words that I can't pronounce. And so, I go and practice them. And then I record it multiple times until I find the takes that I like. Yeah. So, yeah, if you saw what some professional speakers do to warm up, oh my gosh, you wouldn't feel so silly. I've seen some really funny warm-ups. So definitely try it out. And I wish you best of luck. Again, public speaking is scary. It's a scary skill to pick up. I remember when I was learning how to public speak, but it's definitely worth it. And it's an exciting journey. It is a long journey. It took me a couple of years to get used to public speaking. So, and now I love it. I have so much fun. I look forward to public speaking. I find opportunities in which I can. It's really fun now. And I used to be scared of it. So you never know. Yeah, you never know. But I think that's all the time I have today. of course, we're going to spend some time reading some super chats and doing some last minute thoughts. But thank you to all those who submitted their questions today. If we didn't get to yours because of the time constraints, my hope is, again, I mentioned this earlier, my hope is that maybe over the weekend, I'll have the chance to write out my advice, just some quick thoughts on some of the other submissions that were sent in. I hope to do this more often. I feel I'm gonna embarrass myself. Maybe it was because I was listening to the Oran High School Host Club like string OST at the same time, so I was getting kind of emotional. But I started tearing up because I was just so honored that you all trust me and that you all put a lot of faith in the things that I say and in the experiences that I have and the advice that I have to give. So I'm just really thankful that I have this opportunity to connect with you all like this. And like I said, I may not always know the right thing to say. I may not do everything perfectly, but I hope that I can offer some semblance of hope, determination, kindness, patience out there. And yeah, I'm very grateful. And I was kind of I like I mentioned, I kind of glanced through all of these before stream started, and I felt so honored. So thank you all very much. And Shiny, thank you for the reminder. We are going to spend a few minutes just chatting, and you'll get to see my schedule. And if you missed the announcement, do check Shiny's message. Things aren't going to change too much around here. I'm just really glad that now I have support to create content that I have a lot of ideas for content related to my personal mission of supporting other people's mental health journeys. So, but you'll still be playing video games. I'll still be working on my idol trainee journey. But I really wanted to make this commitment to giving back to all the people who have helped me out of my darkest days, out of my I don't know why I said sad girl hours. So, yes, I'm very excited. I'm very honored, and I look forward to all of the amazing stuff we have yet to do together. So, if you're heading out for the day, I hope you have a wonderful rest and a wonderful rest of your day. Let's do some super chat reading, shall we? Woo! Water check. It's been cozy. I agree. And thank you all so much for sharing your excitement with me. I'm really happy that you all are so supportive and excited for me when good things happen. But yeah, I'm really happy. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I just lose all the eloquence, and all I can say is I'm so happy. Oh my goodness. Let's see, water check. Here we go. Jesse, thank you so much for your idol coachship. Thank you so much. I hope you have lots of fun backstage. And Mike Rito, thanks for stopping by. Octa Steve, Fizzle Pickle, thank you so much for the super stickers. Bravo! Good job! I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to what this partnership has in store. I have a lot of really awesome ideas, and I'm just really happy to have NAMI support in these ideas that I have. I'm also really happy that I'm happy that I get to be part of Prism Project. I think management and Shogun were very supportive of me, and they knew about my goals, and they asked about my goals, and they asked me, what do you want to do? What are your short and long-term goals? And just hearing their support in what I want to do with my content, and how I want to give back to the community has been super cool, and they've been super supportive for me throughout this entire process. So huge shout out to the Prison Project family. I'm really happy. So I'm still gosh. Do we have to call you Ambassador Kamishiro? No, it's okay. You don't have just Rita Kamishiro. Just Rita is fine. Gosh, I don't know why, but the first thing I thought of was Ambassador Udina. No, just Rita is fine. Just like always. Such a relaxing and a vibing stream. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you all for listening. Mm-hmm. Kektor, thank you so much for the dono. Congratulations, a bona fide ambassador. So proud of all you do. And I know you'll make them proud. Thank you so much. Actually, I'd mentioned earlier, I was like, this goal I had on my goals list. I've had it, in the back of my mind for a long time, but it was a year ago. A year ago from my birthday, I believe. October 2021 is when I first put it on my to-do list. Like, I want to become a mental health ambassador to encourage others to go on this journey as well. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's just crazy to think that, I'm able to give back in such a, profound capacity and have support and resources for that journey. So I really hope to do the best that I can, and I just, it means a lot to me that you all live your best life. Yeah. Oh my gosh. First NAMI, next thing UN. Oh my gosh, I don't know about that. That's a big goal. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking about how BTS spoke at the UN. I don't know if I'll ever get to BTS levels, but that's okay. I just want to do whatever I can to give back. And I want to be able to give back to you all in meaningful ways. So, yeah. Noah, thank you so much for the super chat. Stuck at work again. No worries. I hope work is going well. Obligatory super to make up for it. I'm still supporting the best Cyber Angel on YouTube. Thank you. I hope you don't feel like you need to, but I really do appreciate it. And any sort of support, whether it's showing up the stream, whether you're lurking or chatting, maybe you're VOD gang, maybe you do send a dono or super chat, or you share my streams or my videos with other people. Any sort of support, it always makes me happy. So I'm just very thankful in any way that you all support. So Noah, thank you so much for the super chat, and I hope you're having a wonderful time at work. Let's see. Caitlin, thank you so much for the super sticker. A diamond. You all are shiny. Oh my gosh. Seg, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Rita, for being yourself. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. I think and that was another part. We talked earlier about, worrying about how people, dislike you. Because I used to think that, like, oh, people are going to find the tiniest things, the tiniest flaws in me, and they're going to, assume the worst about me, things like that. But, I just have to remind myself that people find comfort and solace and I guess safety and not just my, in things that I do well, but also in seeing that I'm not perfect and I do things wrong and that's okay. And yeah, I don't know. I am just very thankful for the kind words saying. And yes, hello, VOD Gang! I hope you enjoyed. Oh my gosh. Demon Warrior, thank you so much for the dono. This has been the best advice corner. Thank you. Not just to those that need it, but to all that have trust in you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's still, like, I can't begin to express how honored. Honestly, I keep saying it, but really that's how I feel. I feel honored that I have your trust. Right? Because not everyone can say that about, having a big community that trusts them. So, I will do my best and continue to grow and learn and be the best that I can be in terms of, being a good person. Yeah. So, and I do trust you all. And I hope you all feel that and see that. And I hope you also feel, happy or good or something like that, because I trust you all. I trust the Archangel, so if anything, you can sit with that in your back pocket. Oh my goodness. Bro, thank you so much for the dono. Thanks for the stream, Rita. You're so kind to look out for the Archangels like this. Thank you. I just do what I can. I'm just a girl. I'm just a simple girl living in a simple world, and there's not very much I can do. But if it's small, even if it's something simple as just talking to you all, if it can make a big impact on somebody's life, then I want to do it. I know I can't do this all the time, right? Stuff like this does take bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, and I can't do it all the time. But when I can, when I don't feel super busy and my mind isn't so focused on other things, but when I find, that I have the emotional availability and I have the space and the time to do so, I want to be able to offer that to you all when I can. So, yeah, I just do what I can. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. Joe says, chat loves your heart. Aw, thank you all. And I really do appreciate everyone's heart and sense of, I guess, community and wanting other people to be happy. And because I see that in the Archangels, right? We have a wonderful community, and I see you all, not just lifting others up and, lifting your friends and family up and your community up, but also lifting yourself up and working on yourself. And that makes me really happy. Because that was a goal of mine. I really wanted to grow and learn and kind of go on this journey with you all, right? Because it's not an easy journey. And it's not a perfect journey. It's not a linear journey. And not only I've seen people's messages saying you motivate me and you inspire me, but you all also motivate me and you all inspire me, and I want to remind you all of that. So thank you. Hector, thank you so much for the dono. Whatever you say, Representative Kamishiro. Oh my gosh, am I gonna become a council member? Like in Mass Effect? Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. And Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. 10 lights up forever. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for the kind word. Go all the way to Spectre. Do you think I can become a Spectre, Kamishiro? Next goal, become a Spectre. Oh my goodness. No, I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with Rita Kamishiro, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, Idol Trainee, Prison Project, Generation 2, NAMI Ambassador. I think I'm okay on being not a Spectre. Oh, talking more about the UN. That works too. Oh my gosh. Hey, you never say never, right? Never say never. Oh my goodness. And Pizza Man, thank you so much for celebrating your 4th month as Idol Coach. Thank you for everything you do. And thank you all so much for being here, not just to support me, but to support each other and help lift up others in the world. So I hope you all enjoyed today's Advice Corner. This is definitely not going to be the last one. I'm looking forward to doing more. I might save these last 2 for next time. But if I have some time this weekend, I do want to share some of my thoughts when I looked at them, but I might dive into them more next time. So thank you all so much for taking the time to submit questions. Thank you all for trusting me and trusting the community to have this sort of conversation or advice sort of stream. And thank you all so much for sharing your experiences and your quick advices and your kind words. Because it means a lot more than you might know. And it's been very helpful. Thank you for setting up this corner. Thank you all so much for being here. Wouldn't be the Archangel Radio Advice Corner without you all. And a huge thank you to today's Archangel Radio sponsors: the Noir Poet Program, the Octasieve Organization, the Fizzle Pickle Fund, the Demon Warrior Charitable Trust, and the Kektor, program, the Kektor Foundation. That's a good one. And to viewers like you, thank you. And right after this, we're going to be... Let me see if I can send you all to another program. NAMI, not National Alliance of Mental Illness, but NAMI G. Frisia, NAMI, is doing karaoke for vibes and relaxation. So if you want to continue the cozy fun, that's where we're going to be raiding into. And I'll see you all next time. Oh, I got one more dono. Let's see. Chunky, no worries. Thank you so much for the dono. Sorry I'm late again, no worries. Guess I'm gonna be VOD gang. No worries. Hello, Vodka. Not sure what's the special announcement. Oh, check the pin message. Check the pin message. It's really cool. But I'll be sure to know about, and indeed, Rita, you're both an inspirational and motivated person ever. And I'll be sure to post about it on Twitter. I'm gonna go eat some food. I haven't eaten yet today. I'm gonna go eat some food, and then I gotta go travel, and then after when I get back, when I get to my location, I will share on Twitter what the announcement was. But I will definitely be sharing outside of the stream. And thank you so much for the kind words, Chunky. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. As always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly. Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, at your service. Bye! Hey, I told you that music theory stream was coming a lot sooner than you might expect. So this is Music Theory 101. This is Music Theory Basics. So we're going to start from the very beginning. So we're going to talk about pitch. We're going to talk about rhythm. We're going to talk about time signatures, meter, key signature. Well, I don't know. Key signatures might be a little bit... Well, I don't know. We'll see. Just the basics, or at least what I think are the basics of music. So... We're definitely going to start with pitch and rhythm, but I don't know what else I'm going to include. It's going to be just very off the scuff. It's going to be off the cuff. I'll have some topics, but I probably won't prepare too much in advance. I'll just have a whiteboard and we'll go from there. And you all can bring your question, your basic music theory question. And of course, we're going to do more Sims 4. I've been working hard and I've been on the grind. I need to tell you all the stories that I have from when I was on the Simonian grind. But now I think I have enough to build a tiny home, and to celebrate my Sim's birthday, my Sim is going to be aging up from a young adult to an adult. We're going to be continuing Ruby Arrow Fell. We're going to be playing a cozy game, a little to the left, and then part 2 of the Inuyasha karaoke. So get hyped. It's going to be a great week going into December. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!